Today, we are joined by one of the greatest leaders from the world of Indian technology. For the 1% of you who do not know who Vineet Nayar is, he served as the CEO of HCL Technologies from 2007 to 2013. Now, at a time when MBA schools were teaching that customer always comes first, Vineet had a contrarian view. He said, no, employees come first and customer comes second. Employee first, customers second. Interestingly, that was also the title of his first book that he published in 2010. Now, did that formula or the approach work? Between 2005 and 2013, when Vineet was leading HCL, the company went from $700 million to $4.5 billion. So yes, you can argue that it did work. Now, 15 years later, Vineet has come up with his second book titled Humans First, Machines Second. And we at DeKoder cannot wait to unpack everything this book has to offer. Vineet, welcome to DeKoder Conversations.
Thank you for calling me. This is very exciting.
No, we'd love to have you here. Vineet, I'll just quickly start off. Is this book a sequel to the first one? And if so, why did it take you 15 years to come up with this book? And you also mentioned that it has been an emotional journey for you writing this book. Why was it so emotional for you?
So first is in 2013, I took a decision to move away from for-profit and dedicate my life to children in rural areas through Sampak Foundation, where we touch 2 crore children in about 2 lakh government schools.
Wow.
So my idea was to move away from the management mumble jumble and, work with people in the villages. However, and that's the reason the idea of writing another book didn't come up. If I ever wanted to write a book, I would have written a social transformation book.
Right.
But when this AI conversation started and everybody started boasting about that AI is going to change the world, AI is going to take over jobs, AI is going to become your nanny, AI is going to become your mother. And when I heard that AI is going to create $1 billion business with one employee,
right,
I found it more and more undigestible. And then I said, I need to throw my hat back into the ring.
Yeah.
I didn't know if somebody will want to hear somebody who quit corporate life 15 years ago.
Yeah.
But when I started writing, I became very passionate about it. And so the pink papers were writing more, I was getting more and more angrier, and my writing became more and more angrier. And that's how this came in. So the issue is not a criticism of AI, but how we can rediscover who we as humans are and how we can take command over AI, and what are those 30 ideas for you to get the best out of yourself in the period of AI. So this is for parents, this is for students, this is for leaders, this is for employees, this is a book of hope. So I don't know whether you learn anything about AI. I think not. But I think you will learn a lot about yourself by the time you finish the book.
Right. But you also mentioned that, are you worried more that machines are becoming capable? Are humans losing faith in themselves that they will never be as capable as
I think
as
given
AI?
the fact that I've spent almost 4 decades in technology, I've always seen this hype cycles of technology, where when a technology comes in, we assume that it will deliver more than it does. And then there is a fall, and then the technology starts delivering. So if you take internet, 1993, even I started Comnet, which was my first startup, but it is only in year 2000, after the bubble burst, that we started use case of Amazon, we started use case of Facebook. I think in this case, the hype is bigger than reality. Technology is interesting, technology is cool, but the use case is not. People have not been able to establish how they're going to use AI to do something dramatically different, which is not happening today. And therefore, I think the hype is running ahead. We will see a fall. And after that, the interesting use cases will start coming in, which will transform businesses. So it will follow the same hype cycle.
But do you see that there is a crisis in confidence when it comes to humans?
So I'm sorry, I should have mentioned that. So if this is the hype cycle, people are not seeing the drop and the use case. People are only seeing the hype cycle. They have a Windows view to that thing, and because of which they're losing confidence. So I talk to a lot of MBA graduates, I talk to engineering graduates, lots of school children. You are absolutely right that they are stopping to believe in themselves. What was India? Let's just take India. India was that whether you are poor, whether you are rich, whether you are on street, whether you have a house, you have a hope.
Right.
And that positivity about India is what was driving India. The positivity amongst the youth of India that tomorrow is brighter than yesterday was driving India. That is not anymore. Now the question is, will I have a job? What will I do in the job? Is AI going to be smarter than me? Right? So all those kind of questions are coming in, because of which people are going to stop buying houses and go to rental. People are not going to invest in education. People are going to say, okay, I need to do startup. A lot of money will get burned. So a lot of things are going to happen before we see the hype cycle come back into reality. And then, but in that meanwhile, if we lose 3 or 4 generations of youth who stop believing in themselves, we have a crisis. And that is what this book is about.
You know, this hope that you're talking about, you are right about it. It's low. You know, like people are feeling quite defeated. I think I can say I'm from Gen Z. I'm 25 years old. A lot of my, friends,
I was once 25, yeah. I know how it feels.
So basically on that only, how there is always this fear. It's like a fear behind us that AI will take a job. A more specific question I had was, has AI replaced the, skill-based education system? Like, graphic designers don't have jobs anymore. I have so many friends who are graphic designers and they're truly struggling. So for people like that, what should they invest their time into right now?
So let's break this question into multiple parts. And graphic designer is a great example. So point number 1 is, does technology remove, automate, increase productivity in bottom skills? The answer is yes. Whether it was typing, whether it is anything else, we invest in technology to make money. And the first thing which the technology takes the mundane tasks away. So a lot of tasks which are not creative and which have been done before will be taken over by machines. Agreed. However, we are sitting in a vacuum where new is not there. So I was talking about this 10-year-old child in Himachal Pradesh who did a review of my book, which was, I think, better than any review I've seen. Today I interviewed him and I asked him a question in terms of, if AI can create all the songs, why would anybody write songs? If AI can draw anything, why would you need to learn to draw in school? And he gave me a very interesting answer. He says that AI can do everything which has been done so far. Creativity is doing something which has not been done so far. So now if we define our job as graphic designers, as people to create something which has not been created so far, you will not see AI as competition. But if you say, I'm going to do the same chipkali or the same flower or the same thing which has been done before, yeah, you're going to lose your job. Now, if you take this book, we have 34 illustrations. And this has been done by a professor in Calcutta called Dr. Pinaki. And when I was discussing with him on illustration, I said, I want a reader to look at the illustration and immediately understand the concept, but it has to be illustration which he can't even imagine exists. So a shank with headphones or a heart with circuits. It took him a lot of time to get it because he is a typical illustrator. By the time he finished the 34 illustrators, he says, I've never ever worked on this. So therefore, the future does not belong to illustration. It belongs to representing an idea through illustration in a way which has not been seen before. So my summary argument to all the young people who are listening to this is, you have to push yourself a little harder than being Me Too. For the last decade, we have seen a lot of Me Too generation, especially in startups. I think your generation is not going to be able to accept the Me Toos. And therefore, you have to move away from Me Too and try and create, in whatever form you are, stuff which has not been there before. And therefore, you will have to be more creative. You have to have a different vocabulary. You have to do stuff which has not been done before. And AI is going to help you do that. So you are going to be a generation which is going to take our humanity from the incremental growth platform which our generation created to an accelerated growth platform because you're going to innovate.
Right. Path, I know you have a question.
There are some very serious concerns regarding the rapid development of AI. For example, artificial intelligence is now capable of identifying and potentially even exploiting loopholes in critical security infrastructure. So, sir, at what point do you think AI will become a Frankenstein, a monster that is beyond control of its creator, or do you think we have already reached that point?
I think a wrong question, I would say, right, for you. I think the question is technology has a way of developing. And when internet came in, it was open internet and you could hack anything. And to prevent that, we had these security systems which came in. Now, all this technology development, ability to pierce through and conventional methods taking over to digital methods to prevent you from doing it are competing industries. So therefore, what you are saying is AI is running ahead in ability to be able to penetrate, but the security agencies and security technology development is also using AI to counter it. So this race you will keep on seeing going forward. However, the reason I said it is the wrong question is you're not part of that race unless you are a technologist. So don't waste time thinking about it. What you need to think about is the fact that if tomorrow the society becomes an open society, which is where we are heading today, today you have more information about a company because the employees write on their social media. And therefore, if the CEO says something to the media, nobody believes it because you can check on the social media. So increasingly, we're becoming a transparent society. So if you are increasingly becoming a transparent society, pushed by AI or not pushed by AI, what is your leadership style? How are you going to convince people of your intent? How are you going to convince employees of the fact that your intention is right, your actions are right? So fast, we're going to become an open society. And when we become an open society, that leadership is going to make a mega change. So yes, watch that trend carefully, but don't be afraid of it because there will be a counter argument in that trade which will come in. But that is opening an opportunity for your generation to demonstrate completely new kind of leadership. See, our generation leadership style was like this. मैं बोल रहा हूँ ना, तुम समझते हो ना, मैं. Right? That in Delhi you will say, "तुम जानता नहीं है मैं कौन हूँ." So that was our generation management style. तू जानता नहीं है कि मेरा कितना साल का experience है. That is radically going to change in your generation, and that is what I think is the mega opportunities. Everything of our generation management style is going to be rewritten, and therefore experience is not going to count, knowledge is not going to count. So if that is not a mega opportunity for you, then what is? So therefore, I think it's a, I wish I was 25. I would be very excited if I was 25 today.
Right. Sorry.
So a similar question on those lines is something on the ethical grounds. So the black box that AI has become, it raises a lot of ethical questions. So do you think that development of open source AI will reduce the bias or increase the ethicality of AI, or is it just going to remain the same?
I think this is, so I'm not an expert on it, but I can tell you what I think. First is the issue that AI has been trained on somebody else's content. Two people are fighting with each other. One commits a murder of the other guy. A newspaper writes about it. Does the content belong to the person who murdered, or does the content belong to the person who wrote about it? Did the guy who wrote about it take permission of the guy who murdered the other guy that I'm going to write about it? At that particular time, we forget our ethics and we say, just because I'm a newspaper or a publisher, I can write about what you're thinking. Now that you have written something which was in public domain, did not belong to you, now if a technology is trained on it, you say it is my content. So I'm a little divided among what is your content, right? Number two, if you look at our education system is all about go to the library, read any book which you want. And used to love library. Now the author never told me that you can't read my content, right? I'm reading the content for free, noting it down, taking photocopy, all that stuff. And that is how the society grew. So I would not worry too much about the ethical. Yes, there are ethical issues about AI. There are hallucination issues. There are all kinds of issues. That is the reason I'm dead against AI going into schools. But I bring you back to the core point I'm making. See, technology is going to evolve at its own pace with counter and with arguments and counter arguments, and it over a period of time, it has always balanced, it will balance. However, I want you to move away and do not get distracted with a social media campaign on technology because they want to make money. They want to make the $1 trillion valuation. And move into use case. That if this is the way technology is going, this is the way society is going to change. This is the way consumer behavior is going to change. This is the needs and wants which is going to change. This is the way organizations are going to change. This is the way leadership is going to change. So where is my opportunity? And I think technology companies, unfortunately, because they want to sell you a subscription, and this is very carefully I'm saying this, they are selling you a lemon saying for $20 a month you can become intelligent. I think no. I think the opportunity is not in $20, the opportunity is outside the $20. So that $20 per month is a distraction. So I'm saying all what you are asking, yes, it's a relevant debate for a group of people who are in the technology, but for Gen Z, the debate is something else. Let this happen, let me watch. All the oldies are going to become irrelevant, and therefore the opportunity for me to do something which has not been done before. Employee first, customer second. My appraisal was done by 1 lakh employees in 32 countries, and the results were published on the web to see. Nobody had attempted that before. Why did I attempt it? Because I inverted the organization pyramid, and I said that the clock speed of an employee will only increase if management is accountable to him or her. Simple idea, executed, and you should see the result, 6 times, 7 times growth with same product, same service, same customers, everything same. These 1 lakh employees of HCL transformed the organization into a cutting edge company on a singular idea. So therefore I would say technology is not that idea. You have to find that singular idea on which you can rotate your top, and that is what you should focus on, not get distracted by this social media arguments of what will happen in the future.
Okay, so adding to the point, now we are observing a lot of Gen Zs, they're asking for trust, flexibility, transparency, and more responsibility at a workplace, right? And this is something that you mentioned in your book that came out back in 2010, and I was actually reading about it yesterday only. I couldn't read the entire book, but like the brief of it. So, why do you think that the workplaces took this long to implement those ideas and changes that you advocated for more than 15 years ago?
I think there are 2 things you have said which is very interesting. One, the idea. Number 2, why does it take anybody too long? Let's discuss both of them.
Yes.
What is the idea? The idea is that the employees go to a mandir, a mosque, a church on a Sunday, spend money, clean toilets, cook, everything, feel good about it. Monday they come to our offices, get paid and feel bad about it, right? And the reason is they don't trust the organization is working for them, for their good, and they believe that what they do on Sunday is for their evolution in life. If the organizations are not going to be able to excite them on Monday, then they are going to have what I call half the employee and not the full employee. Once you understand that, then as a smart leader, you will understand. So the opportunity for me to double the profit is not new customers, new market, but to increase the clock speed of the employee from 50% to 60% to 70% to 80%. The only way to do that is to answer the simple question, what is in it for me? Every time an employee comes, what is in it for me? Let me give you an example. There was a very rich man who had a very rich house, and he called a plumber, John the plumber, and the plumber came in, and the rich man says, this corner was painted by Michelangelo, this was where Nelson Mandela sat, he was very proud of his house. And every single corner he talked about how proud he is of the house. After half an hour, he looked at John and said, John, what do you think? And John replied and saying, that's fine, but where the hell is the leak? Yes. Now, when a young employee joins your organization, he's searching for what do you want me to do? What leak you want me to fix? But what do we tell him? We tell him, you should be very grateful that you are in the august company of a 100-year-old, all that bullshit. Now, therefore, going back, if you want to increase that 50% to 100%, you have to find the answer to the question, what is in it for him? And the answer is the leak. Yes. So therefore, in HCL, we said, mirror, mirror on the ball. We have many leaks of water after all. And therefore, we are looking for plumbers. And that creates excitement amongst the employees. Now, the second question in terms of why does it take so long for people to realize it? I think cutting cost and meeting shareholders' expectation is the easiest thing to do, which is happening in media today also, right? Employees are not being hired. They are missing the point, although it is obvious. But the second part is, it is a long-term path, but a difficult path. See, getting your appraisal done by employees is a difficult to digest path, especially if you are coming from the industrial age. So the reason few have walked that path and gained tremendously, if you have a long-term view, if you have a view that you are there for only 3 years and you have to do quarter and quarter, you will not walk this path. Competitive differentiator in any company is created through long-term investment. And as CEOs, if you are not committed to long-term investment, you will not walk down this path. And that is the reason many have not walked down this path. It is a difficult path, but it creates such a massive competitive differentiator that the growth accelerates, irrespective of what product, what price, what service.
Really, just building up on what we were talking about earlier, which is also linked to the clock time of employees. Earlier, before the AI world, we would hire people who were productive. Productivity was a key asset, right? And now productivity is very accessible. Earlier, if a presentation would take 2 days for somebody to make, and if it would take 1 day for another person to make, I would hire the other person, right? Now that game has gone because a presentation can be made in 5 minutes or 10 minutes using AI. Now, having said that, one of the key themes of the book was also the fact that, AI is with employees and it should be used with employees, not against employees. Having said that, a CEO is also under pressure from shareholders, right? So if he's seeing that eliminating 10,000 jobs, redundant jobs would increase profitability, what should he or she do? What is the right thing to do?
I think it's a great question and goes back to the question you asked. When you look, a magician flies a girl in the air and cuts her in half and then joins her back. And we call it impossible. We call it impossible because it is outside the boundaries of logic and reason for us. But it is within the boundaries of logic and reason for the magician. So the trick to create competitive differentiation is to expand the organization's boundary of logic and reason. So if you have a smaller boundary of logic and reason, you are less competitive. If you have a larger boundary of logic and reason, more competitive. Steve Jobs expanded that I don't want to do cheaper, better, faster. I want to do experience. So Velcro. All these new experiences, or Mahatma Gandhi or any of the revolutions, are outside the boundaries of logic and reason, and that is the reason Suryavanshi, Dhoni, every time. Now let's see it from an organization context point of view. From an organization context point of view, what you're saying is productivity benefit is something the CEO is focused on. Answer is yes, inside the boundary of logic and reason. But what is happening outside the boundary of logic and reason? This productivity benefit from technology is not available only to you. It is available to all of us. So it's not a competitive differentiator.
Right.
So I used to take 2 days to make the presentation. I can make it in 5 minutes. So can my competition. So therefore, yes, you should do it, but that's not a competitive differentiator. Competitive differentiator is how do I use that unlocked time of 5 minutes to create something which my competition is not thinking about. There is where humans come in. So if you take radiology, in radiology, AI use came in first.
Right.
And AI can read scans very good, but the number of radiologists worldwide has increased by 20% because they are doing more than reading the scan. They are correlating things which have not been correlated. They are looking at first-time science. They're doing researches. They're doing a lot of other stuff we need because they were effectively able to. The productivity time which was unlocked was effectively used. So if you are a CEO of a startup or you are a CEO of a company, don't be boxed in productivity which is inside the boundary of logic and reason. Look outside and say, what is your competitive differentiator?
What else can I do?
What else can I do? And the only what else, who can do it?
Yeah.
Machines can't do it.
Right.
Because machines are available to everybody.
Yeah.
Only humans can do it.
Right.
So the humans first, machine second is that premise, that understand that the machines will not be your competitive advantage. Humans will be. And for it to make humans the competitive advantage, you need the culture, you need the acceleration, you need the 50% to go to 100%. Otherwise, you're dead. And that is the point I was making. You guys as leaders have that opportunity because we, as old guys, are not able to understand and implement this idea. Because we have lived with that old जानता है मैं कौन हूँ for many years.
Right.
So that is the reason exciting opportunity for you guys to demonstrate leadership in different ways.
Yeah.
Right. You also talk about it being an equalizer, and I was wondering if a handful of big companies control and own the most progressive and well-developed models. How is AI a great equalizer?
See, once again, these companies, are you aware of any other SAP which is into our finance and other than SAP and any other ERP enterprise? SAP and Oracle dominated. Are you aware of any other operating system other than Microsoft? So we always had these big daddies. That has been part of our capitalist society. That the small guys get killed, the big guys become bigger and bigger, the rich becomes rich and richer, the poor becomes poor and poor. That's the aspect of capitalist society. We can debate that aspect separately. So what is happening in technology is also nothing unique. The billions and billions of dollars they are investing, very few people are capable of making that investment. And therefore their models will only become better and better and better. However, what is interesting is their models are available for rent. The model is not the differentiator. What you use the model for is the differentiator. So Microsoft may be big, but I can use Microsoft to create a marathon. I can use Microsoft to create, a completely new product. So that those products are available on rent. So I can use them, or I can use my free Linux kind of a version till I need it, and then when I need a ChatGPT or Claude, I can use it. So the point is, I'm not afraid of these few people developing large models. Drug companies. There are only a few drug companies which are doing fantastic research to come up with drugs which are comparatively, different to the others. So therefore, I'm not afraid, and there are billions of dollars going into research to create something which we all can use. That's fine. But if it was proprietary, and if only they had and nobody else is allowed to use it, then I would be worried. But as long as it is open and available to everybody on rent, which is what the capitalist society is, I'm not afraid of it.
So it's the same analogy that a Coca-Cola and a Pepsi benefited from a refrigerator more than the person who invented the refrigerator.
Yes, absolutely. The use case, yes, absolutely. Ice cream vendors without the refrigerator would have not survived. Yeah, chocolate vendors without the refrigerator would have not been able to distribute. They would be local vendors. So from local vendors, they became global vendors because of the refrigerator change.
Okay. And Upat, you have a question?
Circling back to the workspace, what advice would you give to us young professionals in terms of the use cases of AI in order to elevate our own creativity, to boost what we are doing and not just remain humans who are out of the loop?
I don't have the answer to that question. So therefore, I will give you a theory. So don't take theory as an answer. Theory is a premise to be tested by you. So be careful. I would say the following to myself, and this is what I say to young employees and to my children. Let us assume what is going to definitely change, and then we will form our response to it. The knowledge is going to be consumed faster by you than anybody else has ever seen. The knowledge will be easier for you to consume than anybody else. And therefore, do you need to spend 22, 23 years collecting knowledge? The answer is no. Now, if you are 23, she's 25, you must be at a similar age. Your comparative problem is a 10-year-old guy will have the same knowledge as you. So your start point is you are 15 years behind because of technology. That should induce an urgency in you. If that does not induce urgency in you, your cycle of obsolescence is going to be moving very fast. So whatever you have spent 25 years should have been done in 5 years. And over a period of time, you should be able. So if knowledge is gone. Now the question is experience for the generation above you. All that experience has been automated in ChatGPT and is available. And a lot of us are talking to ChatGPT on various issues and all that experience. So therefore, the generation above you has lost knowledge and experience as a comparative differentiator. So once you understand this, then you will say, okay, what do I need to do? The answer to that question, my answer to it is learn how to create things outside the boundaries of logic and reason. If you don't learn the art of curiosity, experimentation, thinking outside the box, you're dead. So there are two examples I do and one parental advice I'll give. If you had your eyes in the back of the head, what would you do? And I'll encourage you guys to sit down and do this experiment. You come up with 10 things you would do if your eyes were in the back of the head. And then say, okay, now let's move the eyes back into the front of the head and try and see what will we do to achieve that. That is expanding the boundaries of logic and reason. So it comes down to training your mind not to talk about politics, not to talk about hunger, not to talk about all that stuff, but talk about training my mind. How am I going to do solutions differently? The parental advice. I think one thing we should be very clear, and I'll be beaten up for this, I don't think the education system is going to change fast enough. Predominantly because our country is so large, and whatever is the capability of our teachers, professors, that the ability to change that over the next decade is very difficult. If that is not going to happen, then the question is, when your children are going through that education system, how will they learn what I'm saying? Because it is not going to be taught. Our generation had outsourced education to our teachers. You cannot afford to outsource the education to your teachers. Therefore, the education has to happen on the dining table, where you have to inculcate curiosity, where you have to inculcate experimentation. And the way to do that is to shut up. Not to be prescriptive, not to have an opinion about cockroach party or government or this or that, nothing, no opinion. What do you think? Why do you think? What are the alternatives? What are the counterpoints?
Right.
You are the sutradhar in developing the mind, not a sutradhar to impose your views on the dining table on your children. So if parents take responsibility of new way of thinking, of taking responsibility of creative thinking, curiosity thinking, experimental thinking amongst the young in the dining table, we will win. But if all of us wait for the education system transformation, and all we are saying is, when I was young, I used to cross the river to go to school. For God's sake, stop telling that story, right? It's been 60 years now, right? There are roads now. So, you have to stop that. Yeah. So I think if parenting change, then I think your generation has a hope. And if they don't change, then you should push back. And same is true with surround yourself with people who are thinking differently, who are thinking intelligently. And that is going to be very critical. Otherwise, that 10-year-old boy, he's coming after your jobs.
Yeah.
So now that we are talking about the future, I have something that I want to ask you. So tell me, what do you think the workplaces and workforce will look like 10 years from today? And what do you expect that to look like, especially in the age of AI?
So first is three things will change in the workplace. First will be सब कुछ दिखता है.
Exactly, transparency.
Everybody will know everything. नहीं, transparency आप चाहो ना चाहो, everybody will know everything. It will be from technology. You can't hide something. Now that is going to expose a lot of people, right? So that is one workplace change which will happen. Number two, I think the young will dominate. Predominantly because they are not burdened by experience or having done it and it did not work. Because they have different set of tools. It's not that the older generation is bad. The older generation failed. It's like the elephant in Kerala, right? The elephant in Kerala is tied with thin rope. And when you ask why doesn't the elephant run away, is because when he was young, that thin rope was enough. Now he's assuming that the thin rope is enough when he can break away. So the elder generation still is constrained by old thoughts. The younger generation is going to challenge it. That's the second aspect of change. But I think the most important aspect of change is going to be people are not, because there will be enough money, there will be enough resources, and that is the difference between your generation and our generation. Our generation, getting more money was a sense of satisfaction. For your generation, money is not a sense of satisfaction. It may be a tick in the box of recognition. But it is just because you earn $1 million is not going to satisfy you, right? It is going to be an important milestone. So therefore, the happiness quotient in the workplace is going to be materially important for a person to stay put to work. Otherwise, the person will not work. And therefore, you have to find avenues of how to make an employee happy. What does it make to make that employee happy? What does it take to get the 50% to 100%? Beyond money, because employees are not monkeys that you can give them peanuts and they will jump up and down. So those are the three what I call radical changes which we'll see in our organization.
Lovely. I know we are running short on time. Vrinda has a couple of very interesting questions to ask you, which is a little bit of a rapid fire.
Sure.
And then I have a closing question.
Yeah, so one word answer, whatever first comes to your mind. One job you think will go extinct soon?
I think most IT coding skills.
Right. And one skill you think people should invest in?
Mentorship, thinking outside the box.
One thing people should unlearn and maybe learn again?
Prescription, telling people what to do.
One thing that people should stop worrying about?
Their future of the humanity.
And lastly, one thing people should worry about?
Depressed young people.
All right, that's amazing. Before we just let you go, Vineet, just a final thought that I have. For the viewers who are watching this, what can that person do tomorrow to strengthen themselves or someone who they know about having belief in the human system?
Three things. First is go buy the book and read it. Just don't keep it on the table.
Right.
Second is, this is an exercise I have done for 25 years. Look at the mirror and saying, there's nobody like you. Every day, get on in front of the mirror, predominantly because you're the only person who is most interested in yourself.
Right.
And if you don't invest in yourself, nobody else will do. So look at the mirror and saying, oh my God, kya baat hai. So that is the start point of a belief.
Right.
And number three is start a group of people who have these conversations which I'm talking about. Try and not comment about anything which is not relevant to you. Because in the end, your mind has limited space. It's not that, I'm not saying you should not be bothered about what's happening. Yes, you should. But give some 50%, 60% time and space to be able to think about how do I train my mind outside knowledge and outside opinions. What do I want to do? So do experimentations, do everything, and there are 30 ideas in that book of what potentially you can do. But I think it comes back to mind, and that mind training will happen if you surround yourself with people who are like-minded, who think about it. I asked that boy, which I'm talking about, the Himachal Pradesh, what happens if you were given a responsibility of creating new schools? And then I said, while he was answering that, I said, okay, why don't we have robots teach children? You know what his answer is? The reason I'm saying is that's your competition. He says the robots can teach what has already been taught. I want my teacher to teach what has not been taught. So when these young people start thinking like that, now the question is, how do I surround myself with a group of people who constantly provoke me to think like that outside the boundaries of logic and reason? I think you'll win. It doesn't matter where the humanity goes, you will win, because people, your kind of people are needed.
All right. Thank you so much, Vineet. I think this has been a really, really fun and interesting conversation. It's one of my favorite Decoder conversations so far. Cannot wait to share this book with friends and family, and cannot wait to hear their review for this book. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.